First day, first panel session. Anna Stojanovic is a solution-oriented business leader with 14 years of global HR experience. Currently, she has the role of Regional HR Director for Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and India at a Tektronix company based in the UK. Anna will be the moderator of the next panel entitled Strategic HR in the Age of Uncertainty. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, Jovana. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Nice to see you. Good luck with your panel.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you. So hi, team. As Jovana mentioned, my name is Anna, and I will be hosting today's discussion. A bit about me. So you know, I think by now 5 times that I'm Regional Director at Tektronix, currently based in the UK. And I've been in HR for 14 years, mostly in the US, and just relocated back to Europe at the beginning of February, just in time for crisis. So I am a wife and a mom of 5-year-old twins, Mila and Philip, and I'm also an avid runner, although right now I'm not really running because I have an injury. So today we will explore the topic of strategic HR in the time of uncertainty. And as a famous saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. Today, we will talk about some of the lessons we are all learning through this crisis and how we can use some of those lessons to tackle this and any future crisis that may come our way. We have great panelists here today. Each of them will cover this topic from a different perspective. So from large multinational company, smaller Serbian company, different sectors and different industries. We will dive deeper in topics of leadership, which is my personal favorite topic, as well as HR and communications. I will ask also our panelists about their own personal journey with their leadership in times of this crisis. And I just can't wait. So let's start introducing the panelists. I have a little cheat sheet here, and I hope it doesn't mess up my camera. So our first panelist is Tamara Jokanovic. Tamara is the Managing Director of Integrated Communication Agency, Represent Communications. She has worked for the last 15 years. She has extensive experience in managing teams of different structures and areas of business. She has been in charge of keeping the reputation of various domestic and large international companies such as Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, Fiat, Hemopharm, Philips, MK Group, to name a few, but also well-known conferences such as Kopanik Business Forum, Summit 100, and Serbian Insurance Days. She's a regular lecturer at the London School of Public Relations and often uses her professional experience and internal and external tailor-made trainings for employees and clients. She was the only woman among the finalists for the prestigious Manager of the Year award of the Serbian Association of Managers for 2019. She graduated from the Faculty of Political Sciences in Belgrade. The family is her emotional and energetic refuge from everything. She is married and the mother of an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. Welcome, Tamara.
Thank you, Anna. Nice to meet you again.
Great to see you again.
Yeah. Fine, thank you. And you?
Very good, thank you. A little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully
it's a normal. It's a normal.
Yeah.
For this time, of course.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, Tamara.
Thank you.
So next, I introduce Sonja Bunčić to you. Sonja is from Novi Sad, where she still lives today. She graduated from the University of Novi Sad Faculty of Philosophy with a degree in psychology. She started her career 13 years ago at the Bianco Communications Center, where she worked as an HR consultant. At the same time, she had completed the education in family systemic therapy and received the family counselor diploma. For the past 10 years, she has been with Levi 9 IT Services in the position of HR manager. When she first joined, the company only had 80 employees in Serbia. She followed the growth of the company to the current 600 employees, leading the HR function through the creation of HR policies, setting procedures and processes. She is responsible for the HR function with the primary focus on creating and implementing a talent strategy, and she leads a team of 10 HR professionals. Sonja is mother of 2 daughters, Nina and Eva. In her spare time, she likes to read books in the field of social psychology and history. Lately, she has read all the books written by Elizabeth Abbott, a brilliant history professor because of whom sugar will never taste the same. Welcome, Sonja.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Hi, Anna. Hi, Tamara.
Today?
I'm good, thank you.
Happy Monday. And last, but definitely not the least, today is Predrag Zlatkovic, aka Peja. Peja has more than 12 years of experience in the HR of online travel, telecommunication, and banking industries, contributing through different HR roles, including employer brand, talent management, and business partnering. He is a certified coach and holds MBA from the Sheffield University and master's degree in social sciences from University of Belgrade. Currently, Peja supports the global marketing team of Booking.com in Amsterdam as a global HR business partner, where he works with marketing leaders around the globe on creating an organization that can deliver business strategy in a competitive global market during unprecedented time for the travel industry. Absolutely. Predrag is passionate about travel and new experiences, the happiest when he learns something new. So I hope he learns something new. Welcome, Peja.
Hi, hello, welcome, thank you.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. We have a sunny day here in Amsterdam today, so that's not a thing that you can often see. So I'm really good.
Yeah, same here, sunny day in the UK. What an oxymoron, right?
Yeah,
Belgrade
exactly.
too. It must be sunny Monday today.
Yes. So, team, I actually wanted to start with a pretty general question, just to get your views on a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And I would like each of you to just spend a couple of seconds on this question. So do you think that there is a difference between leadership that is needed in normal times and leadership that is needed in crisis? And if so, what is it? Peja, you want to start?
Yep.
We're last introduced.
Yeah, sure. Well, when we have the crisis period, we usually have some changes in the environment. So definitely we have some unpredicted and disruptive moments that are happening that we did not predict for. And even though I think that the majority of skills that we use in everyday life is still necessary during the crisis, I think that in that period of time, some of the skills, or maybe better to say some of the leadership styles, get to the surface more than some other. So, for example, it might be the case that you will need to have more of a passionate approach, a more empathizing approach to your team in order to just handle the crisis in a better way. So what that means is even more communication than usually, right? Because the communication is definitely key for every leader and every manager in all situations. But when we talk about crisis, it kind of boosts significantly, and then you have to be as transparent as possible what's going on and what's going to happen, and to kind of explain to the team and to the employees what is the path going forward with these new circumstances that are happening. So basically, I would say that some leadership styles might be emphasized in the crisis period, but generally those are the same key characteristics that we are seeing every day.
Just super enhanced and becoming hopefully superpowers in the times of crisis. Yeah,
something like that, exactly.
How about you, Sonia?
I think there is no significant difference between the leadership that is needed in normal times than in a business as usual, in crisis times. I think that any big change in the organization that imposes stress and pressure is very much like the situation we are currently in. So we are in the situation of pandemic, but let's say you have a cyber attack or a terrorist attack or an economic crash. So these are all big changes that put pressure on the organization. I don't think that good leadership is defined by external factors. And I think at its core, it's the same when the business is usual and in the times of crisis. So like Peja.
Yeah. So either you have it or you don't.
Exactly.
How about you, Tamara?
Yes, I totally agree with Sonia and Peja. There is no big differences between that kind of leadership because you're a good leader or you're not. because every difficult situation brings both the risk and some kind of opportunity. So it's up to us, it's up to you to turn risk into a chance. And that is what good leaders do, no matter what times are.
Great. And I think each of you actually mentioned a little bit of what are characteristics of good leadership and what are the characteristics of good leadership in times of crisis. And I just wonder if some of you, I think, Peja, you specifically talk about empathy and transparency. If you could maybe tell us, give us an example. So I know there are many world leaders who are handling this well, but I would like for you to give us an example of maybe closer to home and something that you really experienced yourself of good leadership during crisis.
Yes, sure. So what I have experienced during this crisis actually was one great example, and my time here in Booking, I actually arrived in a very critical timing for the online travel industry, and then I witnessed kind of a crisis management of our global team and our CEO, and that is something that I would in this case use as an example. So basically, there was what I've witnessed is a lot of, as I said, a lot of communication, which was, I sometimes use word overflow of communication, but basically it was kind of a strong message about, yes, you can only imagine how people felt when they realized that travel is not possible anymore, and that how employees felt when they realized that business might be seriously jeopardized, right? And that is a significant kick, right, to the business and to the morale of employees. And what we had is like immediate reaction directly from CEO on a regular basis, saying like, yes, this is happening, but it ain't gonna last forever, that's for sure. This thing will stop. And like emphasizing the message. And when it stops, people will travel again, right? The world's not ending because of this. And then you see that paradigm shift or shift of perspective that is coming from the top. And it sounded like giving a hope to people. And then beside giving the hope and beside giving some calmness, there is also a sense of new direction. So then it comes setting the new strategy, setting the new directions for everyone in this period. So yeah, he said we had a strategy for 2020. That was our purpose. But let's realign. Let's change purposes and see what is it that is important now during this period, and let's prepare for the time when travel is here again. And all the projects that were kind of in under the rug because we didn't have time to deal with it, we put them all back to the surface, and then we try to focus on things that will improve our services and our offer for the time when travel becomes much frequent than it is now. And basically that gave some purpose for people to see that there is still work, and what that did is some kind of a measure towards everyone to keep calm and to kind of be engaged, even though it seems very disruptive for the whole industry in total. So basically, no panic. So leadership that says like there's no space for panic. We have some purpose, even though it seemed like there's no purpose, and this will end, and we will all survive. Some basic messages and repeating on those. And I felt really good. Me personally felt really, really good hearing that. But also when talking with our people, I think it was really important to see that kind of a leadership.
That's so good to hear, Peja. And I couldn't agree more. The key through this crisis was focusing on what we can control, because there was so much spiraling out of look what this leader is doing there. What is, all the panic. So I think that was so critical, and good for your CEO for handling it so well. How about anybody else?
I can say something else, because it's totally different. Imagine when you depend on other companies and how they allocated budget for their communication and the marketing. And I'm not going to talking about myself. It's a little bit ungrateful to talk about. But for my perspective of view, the good leaders of domestic successful companies are really superhero for me today. Because the multinational companies in Serbia did have know-how from their headquarters. If nothing else, they had earlier information and and procedures in a case of an emergency in Serbia as well. And for example, you have Huawei from China, or I don't know, Generali from Italy. And at the other side, some domestic leaders handled their crisis without many resources, not just financial resources, without resources in people, on knowledge, you know, that is very difficult to manage in that crisis. So I can say that we had a very good example of communication in Serbia. For me, that was the not company, but I can say the Serbian Association of Manager. They quickly brought experts, top managers of all companies, and on a variety of topics that could have impact on our market. And they were one of the first who gave advices in a digital form and organized the digital conferences with all relevant experts in this field. So that is a very good example. So unfortunately, we had also the bad examples in Serbia. But when I prepared for this panel, I thought that that is not so professional for my part to mention the company names, because it's a small market, you know. So I will tell what was bad, some complete lack of communication of some companies, untimely communication, a lack of any empathy and any humanity in all the time.
Thank you, Tamara. And actually, with this next question, we are going to talk about the topic that is very near and dear to your heart, which is communication.
Yeah.
And as we all know, you know, communications, and you all touched it, during crisis is key. So we've seen the world leaders, that those who communicated effectively, the perception is that they're handling COVID much better. Whether they are or they're not, the time will tell. But because they communicated so well and with so much empathy and consistency, you know, the perception out there is such. So can you maybe give us some tips on how to communicate effectively when the stakes are high, anxiety through the roof, people are stressed? That's your area of specialty. So I wondered if you could share a bit.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for this question. Each of the leaders had an ungrateful role in this film hour called COVID-19. And but what we as an agency have faced, I think will be best explained to you in a next film. So we can watch it together,
okay, so
if we can. Yeah.
And let's see how my technology pans out. So
yeah. Okay. I will talk a small talk in your play. Okay, it's an example of a crisis management and a crisis situation in Serbia, and it even began to be a global problem. We, as an agency, handled 19 crisis situation during this time, and but also we have our own difficult situation. So you will see.
Okay, so let's see. I think I can start now, and if in the chat, if you guys can just tell me if it's
okay.
Okay.
Šta sve može da stane u 60 minuta? I koliko zaista traje 60 minuta?
Obaveštavam vas da smo doneli odluku o proglašenju vanrednog stanja na teritoriji cele Republike Srbije.
Da li ste se ikada zapitali kako svet može da stane u jednom trenutku i da se vaš svakodnevni život obustavi na 60 dana?
Bio je to potresnujući trenutak i spoznaja da se to više ne dešava tamo negde u svetu, daleko od nas, već da postaje naša realnost.
Klijenti su nas zvali su nas mediji, ljudi su pitali da li je to zaista istina da mi imamo inficirane u samoj firmi.
U roku od pola sata krenulo je nagađanje koja kompanija je u pitanju, na kom se spratu ona nalazi, sa kim su zaraženi bili u kontaktu.
Istog trenutka smo sazvali krizni štab, interni, odredili ulogi unutar tog kriznog štaba, prema, naravno, direktorima koji vode određene segmente i nakon toga doneli odluku da apsolutno svi zaposleni budu pomereni na rad od kuće.
U tom trenutku smo morali da radimo ono što 18 godina radimo za svoje klijente, da sprečimo glasine i dezinformacije koje su krenule da šetaju gradom, da obavestimo svoje zaposlene, da medijima pružimo pravovremenu i pravu informaciju i da zaštitimo pre svega svoju reputaciju, ali i reputaciju naših partnera i klijenata.
I naravno potpuno zaseban nivo komunikacije bio je sa velikim brojem ljudi sa kojima sarađujemo, naši klijenti, udruženja, institucije, podizvođači. Važno je bilo biti transparentan, objektivan, odgovoran i naravno neutralisati potencijalnu krizu u samom startu.
Ono što su najčešće pitanja bilo je da li smo mi bezbedni, da li smo sigurni, odnosno da li postoje neko od zaraženih i da li sam bio u kontaktu sa tim ljudima.
Bavili smo se kriznim menadžmentom i kriznom komunikacijom sopstvene agencije i 19 kriznih situacija za naše klijente. Zamislite šta je za vas značilo 60 sekundi, 60 minuta, to su bile jako teške odluke.
Strategije krizne komunikacije, krizni trenizi, dajčesti na aktualne teme, krizni priručnici i svakodnevno upravljanje krizom postali su naša svakodnevnica.
Tamo kada pomisliš da stvari držiš pod kontrolom i da je situacija u redu, desi se prvi slučaj COVID-a kod nas u kompaniji.
Za mene kažu da sam pozitivna stalno, često i da sam neki nepopravljiv optimista, mislim da je možda bolje ostati negativan u nekim trenucima, jer sam ja bila prva COVID pozitivna osoba u našem kolektivu. I mislim da je to snaga zapravo koju nalazite u sebi, ti ljudi. I oni vam uvek ulivaju nešto više i onda kad mislite da ne možete dalje.
It was an example as a leader.
God bless you, sister. What can I say? And with that, I conclude this panel.
So, it was difficult, but it passed. So if you ask me to give some tips, effective tips for communication, I would say be proactive, communicate on time, repeat your clear messages through all channels available to you, and be transparent. Also, you can be prepared. You can prepare the key messages, the contingency plan, the statements, the contingency notebooks, and of course, show the empathy in communication with your clients, with your employees, motivate people, educate people, and I can say you can show the leader's strength through humanity. And that is the tips for effective communication. And of course, stay positive, but with the negative PCR tests.
And find the right agency.
Yeah.
Right, Tamara?
Of course. You know where to find you.
Yeah. So how about you, Sonia? Give us a little bit of how did you manage communication from internal standpoint? So your employees and just give us a bit tips on internal communications.
Thank you, Anna. I have to say for the companies that do not have internal communications advisor or companies they're working with, I think HR really stepped into advising the management on how to communicate and when to communicate and what kind of messages to use. If I have to give a tip to anybody out there on how to communicate during the crisis, I would have to say, firstly, you need to be honest with your people. So honesty is the best policy. You need to interpret the reality and offer the interpretation of reality to your people. While doing that, keep in mind to be hopeful about the future and also to show empathy. I think what is also very much important for the management is to be visible in these difficult situations. So present and visible. When I say visible, it's also like we were mentioning that in one of the previous streams, is how important it is to turn your camera on for employees to actually see the managers, to see their body languages, to see what kind of messages they're producing, and through that also to see the messages of hope and empathy to people. We really intensified the communication like many other companies during the crisis. What we did is actually company-wide meetings on all levels. I will only emphasize one, and that is all hands meeting, where actually all of the company comes together, where we can see our managers, where we can ask questions and get the answers immediately. So I think that was really important for all of our employees. What we also did is monthly surveys. So every month we try to keep our finger on the pulse of our people in order to make good decisions in how to create safe and stimulating working environment for them during the crisis. We also did a lot of conversations, one-on-one meetings from the managers to employees, from HR to the employees. So there was a lot of communication going on. And we also provided reports for our people, which were video reports. So it was important for our people actually to see the managers and to see what they have to say to all of us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sanja. So I know we are sort of running out of time a little bit, although I can stay with you guys and talking all day long. So I'm going to combine the next two questions and ask you, I imagine, and we've seen from the movie and from some of the stories you shared, there were ups and downs in the last year for you personally as leaders as well. So maybe just reflect back for us, and what were some of the highs of and some things that you're most proud of as a leader in the past, managing past crises, and what are some of the lessons learned, or maybe situations where you didn't show up as good as you could have?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Want me to start, maybe?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Well, this September, we actually conducted a thorough investigation on what is the current sentiment in Levi 9. So we wanted to collect any sentiments or beliefs that have influence on organizational development. And what we also wanted to use this opportunity to look back at the situation of the pandemic and to ask people what are their points of pride. So what do they, how do they feel about the company reaction to the pandemic? What is their high and what is their low? So what do they think about our reaction? And the results were that employees were really satisfied with how we reacted to the pandemic, meaning that the communication was #1 points of pride for our employees, which was very good. Also, people who actually stated that they are proud of how we did our communication were also the ones who maybe didn't agree with the decisions. So although they didn't agree with the decision, they were having positive thoughts about how we communicated during the crisis. Our low was that some of the measures that we introduced were quickly revoked, so maybe only a couple of weeks. So our employees thought that maybe we'd made those decisions in a rush and that we didn't think through when we made them. So that was our low. And I completely agree with all Levi 9ers. That was also for me the high and low for the Levi 9 company.
Yeah. Thank you, Sanja. Thank you for sharing. Tamara, Peja, anything to add to this important topic?
It's important topic for all of us, but I think we don't have enough time, so we can through the other questions.
Okay, so I'm going to actually shift the focus a little bit to HR, because this is an HR panel. So as HR function, how do we ensure we stay strategic partners while also managing crisis? So Peja, you've been left alone for a little bit, so I'm going to shift this question to you.
Well, I'll start with answering that question by just saying my personal experience as well. I think what I've noticed that it might happen to others, I'm not sure, but it happens that we are so quickly jumping into solving everybody else's problems. In our cases, it was 18,000 employees and like 200 offices around the world. And it is more like, oh, let's see if is everything in place. So is everybody enabled to work from home? Is everything connected? And then you are like in a rush this first month or second month as well. And then what I've learned from this is maybe in the best way illustrated with, when flight attendants give you the instructions in the beginning of the flight, and when they say like, in the case of emergency, the masks with oxygen will fall, and then put the mask first to yourself and then put it to others, And I think this was the great example for me, because we were so much eager to help everyone. That's what HR is, right? Supporting everyone. But we actually forgot for a while, like we need support as well, right? The HR folks are also folks and people with all the similar characteristic and same characteristic as everybody else. So I would start with that one, but then after putting the mask on our face, I think that the strategic role goes totally in line with the leadership. So in my example that I shared previously, where the leader said, like, this is our new direction, we are going the next 2 months to do reprioritization. We are there to support the leadership team to quickly create a new strategy. So we will do everything that needs to be done from an organizational perspective to make organization ready to deliver new strategy. So there was a lot of things that are actually facilitating the discussion and facilitating the support to the organization in order to quickly deliver the new strategy, because you usually have like 6 months or maybe a bit less to create the strategy, and in this case you have like a month or two to reshift the strategy and just like go into it, because that's what happened, right? And that was a great learning as well.
That's great, Pedro. And the reason I'm laughing is that that's my everyday world. It's going from, quick decision making all the time, but then high level strategy, going into details, firefighting all the time, and then thinking futuristic 5 years. Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. And I do want to say, I do agree with, securing our mask for ourselves first. And therefore, I want to thank HR Week and community for creating this space for all of us so that we can help each other and learn from one another because it's just so important. Yeah. Okay. What is the HR role in crisis management? Where, in your opinion, do we sit at the table? Sonia.
Thank you for the intro you just gave to me. I recently read an article, which I find very useful while preparing for this panel, actually, is that the role of HR during crisis is to be a therapist, so helping others, is to be a benefits counselor. Is to be a benefits counselor and also to be a strategist. So very complicated roles and very hard things to fulfill during the crisis. But I think most of all, what we bring to the table is people perspective. So we are the link between the people, between the teams, and between the management. So we are interpreting what is the reality for our people, what is needed for them to have safe and stimulating working environment. So we give these recommendations to managers and we make decisions together. So that's, I think, what we bring to the table. And also, although the circumstances are very sad when you look at the pandemic and what's happening in the world, but I think this situation really elevated the importance of good HR work, because suddenly it was all about the people. It was all about HRs, which was really an interesting time to be in HR. Hope you agree.
Here. And what a beautiful way to put it, glass half full. And instead of complaining how much work we have, really utilizing this competitive advantage that we have. I love it, Sonia. Thank you. So team, we have 3 more minutes before they kick off. I know they wouldn't, they love us. But last pearls of wisdom on how to come out of this crisis wiser and stronger. Personally, as HR professionals, as communications gurus, please go ahead.
Okay, I can say I think the only thing that is certain is a change, and you have to change and transform yourself, your established way of working, and always adapt to given circumstances. And I think each of us needs to learn to become some kind of, I don't know, maybe chameleon, if not already. So I think that is the point. We must transform.
Thank you. Okay, should I go? Okay, thank you. I think learning from the past to enhance the future, I think it's a crucial surviving skill. So I can only hope that all of us have learned a lot of things that will make us wiser and stronger for the future. For me personally, what is the biggest takeaway from this whole situation is actually the value of hope. I think while we are in the dark circumstances and the dark present, it's easy to feel under the weather. So it's important while addressing these harsh realities is also to speak to solutions and to speak to hope. So my personal best takeaway is hope. My second best takeaway is to be daring and to be bold, meaning that some of the things we were trying to do for years before, and this pandemic really pushed us to act fast and to move forward. And some of these experiments were really successful ones. So my second takeaway is that you can be as daring, as bold, and as fast, as efficient as you want to. So just go for it. And the third takeaway would be is that communication is the key. So keep communicating.
I can't agree more.
And
thank you, Tamara.
Bring us home.
Yeah, I would just add that. Yeah, fully agree with what Tamara and Sonia said. Then definitely those are the learnings. And what I would add on top of that is like in this crisis, I think we all learned and that we kind of got some reset and thinking about what actually matters to all of us. You know, we were all in so-called normal times. We were so focused on job and careers and everything. But then once we were closed in our homes and we realized that we do not really have a freedom of move, that human species are not that strong as we thought, that we could be really overtaken by some virus, you know. And then it makes you question like what really matters. What is it that you really want to do? Who are the people you really want to spend your time with? Because we were just witnessed the example where we cannot visit everybody when we want it, and we didn't used to that, right? We used to visit everyone who we love and everybody who we care about whenever we want. But then at the end of the time, I think we learn now to appreciate more the people and things that we care about.
Thank you. And you guys are definitely people that I love to spend time with. So thank you so much for today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for your honesty, for sharing your experiences and your wisdom and your vulnerability with all of us. And I hope we see each other in person very soon. And stay well and stay healthy.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.